So this is the assignment. So I'm going to present the assignment here. So this is the requirement is to basically export the DynamoDB table into the S3 and way to create the process of table into the move table into the S3, and this table will be moved at regular interval at 2 a.m. UTC time. So how these things are going to work and what is the plan basically, so I will demonstrate here. The we are using basically CloudFormation for that purpose and JavaScript, and this whole stuff is basically implemented using CI/CD. So in the first step I will show you the I will create a DynamoDB using CI/CD. But before, I would like to explain the architecture first. So how we are going to implement this is, so here we have a GitHub action, and which is really take care of CloudFormation, and this CloudFormation is invoked using CI/CD, and we are basically implemented using GitHub action, and I will show you how it is working in the next step. So this CloudFormation stack is divided into two parts. So one part is for DynamoDB, and which is responsible creating of DynamoDB and backup bucket. And the second part, we are creating Lambda and CloudWatch events. So CloudWatch event is just like a rule in which we are configuring the cron, and that cron is basically invoking Lambda, and this Lambda using the AWS SDK, it is implementing our backup strategy using the code that we have written in the Lambda, and this backup is ultimately storing into the backup bucket. So this is our overall plan. I will firstly like to explain the CI/CD part, and then because I divided this is in such a way that first I will create the CloudFormation stack because it will take time. So during creation time I will explaining the whole stuff. So first I will show you how DynamoDB works. This is like the GitHub action pipeline. Here we are using workflow dispatch for manually take input from the user input, and we are basically implementing push and pull requests, so it will basically automatically trigger the pipeline on the push and pull request event. Here is the actual job. For the actual job, I'm just configuring the Amazon GitHub action marketplace functions, which basically just configuring the checkout, which basically take the code, configure the AWS credentials, which take the AWS credential setup, and this marketplace action is for configure the this basically is for marketplace for CloudFormation related stuff. So here we are basically defining the part how this path is responsible for taking the CloudFormation stack, and we are overriding the input from here. So we are overriding, so it will basically overriding the stack parameters from here, and this parameter is responsible override if there is no update during drift configuration. So I will first run this. Let me come here. So this is my DynamoDB GitHub action workflow. This is like our inputs. Here we have a master branch, bucket name, and DynamoDB. Bucket name is for storing the S3 data, and DynamoDB is for it is required during creation time of DynamoDB, because it is compulsory for we have a DynamoDB primary ID. So I will run this workflow. This is going to like run shortly. Yes, it is going to run. In the meanwhile, it will run. I will show you the other things. As we know that the AWS DynamoDB support two kind of backup strategy. One is on demand, and the other is export to S3. So on demand is full complete snapshot of the DynamoDB, and so we can use this for as a archival purpose, and we can restore with a different name. So that is the function of DynamoDB on demand backup. Compared to that, there is another backup strategy. So through using this, we can export the table data into the S3. So both these table have requirement of implementing. Both these table have requirement of PITR, point in time recovery. So without this parameter, we cannot take backup using DynamoDB. So as per the documentation, that during backup, it will not impact the read write of the DynamoDB. So as you can see that my stack is deployed. So if I will go into the CloudFormation stack, so my CloudFormation stack is completely deployed. I can see that DynamoDB. Let's open this console. Here, this table. So this is like we are creating our table here, and so now next thing is to create, and it is also already created the bucket. I will show the bucket name, bucket as well, S3. So it will like open in as it open. Yeah, the bucket name is there. So DynamoDB and the bucket name is created. So I will show you the other thing, but before I will like to create the lambda as well, lambda workflow, invoke the lambda. In the meanwhile, when the lambda was creating in the background, and we will discussing the other details. So I will come to the action here. So we can trigger it manually, or we can trigger using any push and pull request. So it is totally depend on our need. So I will just run the workflow here, and it will create the lambda and the cron. So question is why I'm divided this template into two sub chunks. Why I'm creating two workflows and two CloudFormation template for that. So basically I want to show that the modality of the CloudFormation. So I will explain now. So firstly I will explain simply the workflow. It is similar to the DynamoDB, but here are the parameters, and this push and pull request event are triggered when there is an event or push in the repository. Here we are basically building our npm package, and here it is like we are configuring AWS credentials, and we are basically here we are basically pushing the zip into the bucket. Bucket is basically the same for exporting the for log exportation and the lambda zip. So we are using the same bucket for two purposes. For and there is like we have actual deployment, and we are basically invoking this lambda from there, and this part is basically for the invoking the overriding the template parameters. And here we are I use this param for because lambda is creating IAM roles, so that's why I are using this parameter here. So these are the things for the template perspective. Now there is a section of CloudFormation. So I will explain firstly the DynamoDB CloudFormation stack. So the CloudFormation stack, there is parameters that is required for function for a type of AWS DynamoDB table. Here are the resources that I am creating the S3 bucket, and here I am just creating the table, and here I am basically referring to the point in time recovery, so which is basically actually help us to take backups. And here I am basically exporting achieving the modality of the CloudFormation. So this is modular approach. So here it is basically printing the ARN, and this ARN with this name, and here I'm also exporting the bucket name into the lambda template. So I will show you here. Firstly I will explain the structure. The structure is similar to DynamoDB. Here I'm basically explaining the parameters. Here we are explaining the outputs, IAM roles, necessary permission that is required for lambda to invoke. And here basically in this section we are creating the event rule, and I already passed the required expression here. And here this is the lambda, this is our actual lambda function, and this is where we are getting the bucket name and the function zip file from there. This is the overall approach. So things that need to be very important here. I am importing the main bucket name and DynamoDB ARN from this template. So here I am getting the properties of DynamoDB into the lambda using the modular approach. So this I am here just want to showcase that there is another approach, so I will show that here. So this is our infrastructure as a code. So I will see that yeah, our CloudFormation stack is ready, and it is this stack with the CloudFormation stack is already deployed over lambda plus our event rule. So before concluding here, I will show you that I already make the lambda function. So I will show the code working here. Here I'm just using the AWS SDK, and this module is for environment variable, and this module for this library is basically responsible for interacting with AWS SDK. So I using the US East region, and the function the S3 bucket and table ARN is basically I am getting from the DynamoDB export module. So I have this export, as I showed in this is exporting as a if I will show you here, is setting as an environment variable. So this function getting the values from here. So this values is basically passing as a param, and this param is basically calling the functions as per documentation of SDK. Here I'm using the export table point in time param or the function sub function. So this there I just implementing try and catch exceptions, and this is the whole logic of the lambda function. So that's it from the code side. Now I move into uh, the implementation of CloudFormation. Yeah, as you can see that the our lambda section is deployed, and the CloudFormation demo is also deployed. So let's move and check how it is going to work here. So as I already showed that our table and bucket is already created. Now I will explore the lambda and uh, try to invoke manually for now. Let's let it open for me. Yeah, our lambda function is created. As you can see, it is created 3 minutes ago, and here here it is basically taking event from the cron expression, and it will invoke accordingly. So the thing that need to be checked here, this is the parameters basically I am getting from as a from the CloudFormation stack of DynamoDB, which is basically I'm invoking in lambda and setting as an environment variable. So this is like the tricky part here. Or like now I'm going to test this. This is our lambda, so just create a dummy event. This event is not basically working inside, but just go as a default here. So I just successfully invoked the lambda. So as you can see that it is successfully create a schedule over backup. So if I will go to the table, let me check here that this is our lambda, and yes, as you can see that the point in time is already enabled. And if I will show the export and stream here, so it is, if you can see that it is exporting our current table into the S3. So that is our main thing that we are achieved using this, and this is the overall work that I will demonstrate here. If I will open this bucket, but there is nothing because I did not export or create tables and import create any item inside the tables, that's why. But yeah, so if you go here, but there is nothing as the table is empty already. So this is my overall work. Hope you like it, and I will conclude here now. Thanks for watching.